Hi, this is John Rowell for the Rowell Report. Today is Tuesday, November 11, 2025, and we have a report regarding the finding of a Ukrainian anti-corruption agency apparently finding $100 million in kickbacks. So if the typical kickback amount is 10 to 15%, we're talking about $1 billion in what it would be sales or contracts, replacements of turbines. Who knows how all this was generated? But in a corrupt country, kickbacks are very normal. It's the normal way of doing business. This is how companies get government contracts to provide. It could be anything from furniture to helicopters to building materials to maintenance contracts. It could be security contracts. Whenever there is a corrupt country, they use these contracts or these purchases to generate money for the corrupt individuals who form a circle, but also there are the contacts in the different businesses, and everyone together creates this network of silence around these kickbacks. But like I say, in corrupt countries, kickbacks is the most normal way of doing business, from the lowest purchases. It could be pencils and notebooks and rulers and staplers, all the way up to private jets, helicopters, and so they use all these different needs that they have, and they look for other needs that they don't have in order to create lots of contracts and lots of purchases, and that generates all that money for that small group. And it's like a serving tray and with full of cookies, and they pass it around the room, and everyone who's part of that corruption scheme grabs their cookie, and the top dog in that whole network gets handfuls of cookies. So so if this is true, that there's $100 million in kickbacks, I wouldn't be surprised that this could occur. But in a corrupt country with so much kickbacks going on, why did they focus specifically on the office of the president and people close to the office of the president? Why did they wait till now? It seems like this would have been an investigation that they put on the back burner, and they would pull out of the pull out from the back burner when they needed it to try to pressure Zelensky to carry out something. It could be really anything that this anti-corruption agency wants to achieve. Maybe the anti-corruption agency wants to be a part of the kickbacks. Who knows? There's no guarantee that any investigation was ever conducted or that they found any money. Also, if they did find money at somebody's house, somebody who supposedly had already fled the country, how easy would it be for government officials to show up with bags of cash and hide it in different parts of their house or their apartment, and later for other government officials to come to find, magically find this money? So where did they know to go to look for this money? This kind of looks like a setup to me. But I'm not saying that there isn't corruption in Ukraine or that President Zelensky isn't corrupt. I'm just saying in a country so full of corruption, from the very lowest level of contracts and purchases, pencils, notebooks, scissors, staplers, all the way to private jets, expensive turbines, maybe the energy sector, healthcare. There was a contract for the healthcare for all the employees. It's hard to say, but I'm sure that the corruption is widespread and that this isn't the only case. Also, we know that the Congressional Oversight Committee is in Ukraine scrutinizing bank accounts, government agencies. They are keeping an eye out. So why didn't they find that and report it? There's all these questions that one could have about corruption in Ukraine, and why report about it? Why focus on a couple of individuals when you know that it's everywhere in every sector? If you remember back about these exemption cards that young men would get for military service to avoid mobilization, they even had the information up on the internet about how much it would cost to buy your way out of mobilization. I mean, the corruption is so in your face in Ukraine. Like I say, why focus now on a group of individuals and on a particular corruption scheme if you know that it's everywhere? You don't have to do anything really to find it. It's going to be right in front of you. So this is all very strange. It could be that the European powers, or the United States, or both of them, United States with UK, France, Germany, are trying to pressure Zelensky to carry out a policy, and so if he doesn't carry that out or doesn't collaborate, then they begin releasing information on all these corruption schemes that have been going on. But like I say, in a country so full of corruption, to focus on one small area of corruption and to point out a couple of individuals seems to me like a hit job. So we also have a report here from The Guardian. The previous one was from Reuters. Here it is. So this one is from The Guardian, and it talks about Timur Mindik, who was a business and associate of President Zelensky, and that he fled hours before the investigators arrived at his Kiev apartment. This is one of the most laughable points of this whole story. So this guy's going to fly to Israel. Is he going to fly out of Kiev? Is the airport even functioning in Kiev? I don't think so. Is any airport in Ukraine functioning for passengers? I know it is for the military flights, the F-16s, etc. But for commercial flights or even private jets, how would he even get on a plane to get out of Ukraine? First, he would have to board a train, which is about 8 to 10 hours to get to Poland, and then he'd have to cross an immigration, an immigration office before leaving the country. They would check his documents. So let's say this person, Timur Mindik, left home at 8 p.m., got on the train at 9, and he's there, 8 hours later, so that's 5 a.m. So let's say he leaves Kiev at 8 p.m., and they say that the NABU went to his home at a couple hours later. So they went there at 10 p.m., so they had between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. to put a warrant out for his arrest. So as soon as he gets to the border and tries to cross into Poland, he would be arrested. because they would already have put out the arrest warrant. They search his passport. It comes up that he's being sought by the anti-corruption agency. They would arrest him there and then transport him back to Kiev. So we know that they search those passports when they leave the country because Gonzalo Lira made the mistake of trying to escape the country through an official exit point from Ukraine. He was, I believe, in house arrest at the time. He could have exited the country through a mountain pass. He would have been fine, but he decided to exit the country through an official exit point. They checked his passport, found that he was under house arrest and he couldn't leave Ukraine. So then they arrested him right there. So we know this was several years ago for Gonzalo Lira. But that was when Biden, I believe, was still in office. So anyway, we know that this whole story is false about him escaping a couple hours before the investigators went to his home. So you can see right through all this propaganda, all this manufactured story. It seems certainly that they're trying to put pressure on Zelensky. What do they want him to do? Well, I think what Trump wants in Ukraine is for Zelensky to get out of the Donbass and to hold on to the rest of Ukraine, because the United States, what it wants in Ukraine is it wants to have that border directly with Russia, which is by Sumy and Kharkiv. The U.S. could practically put CIA posts on the border like they had before the special military operation. And so Trump doesn't want to be pushed back further into Ukraine. They want to be able to get Ukraine eventually into NATO. And so he thinks that that Zelensky can do a territory for NATO swap. That's, I think, what Trump is convinced of. And so they're starting to tell Zelensky that if you don't collaborate with us, you're going to be caught up in one of these anti-corruption investigations. We know that in a very corrupt country, the person at the very top is the most corrupt, and they have the most money. So so if they transferred the money out of the country, they have all the transferred, the banking records, because they're going to use the SWIFT banking system. The U.S. has all that figured out. They know where Zelensky has put his money and how he moved it. They could move on him at any time. They're just basically sending him, a spitball, sending him the warning. Hey, we're getting closer. You better start doing what we asked you to do. So for me, that's the whole meaning of this whole corruption investigation. Nothing more than that. And I thought that this whole escape of this collaborator, associate of Zelensky is, you couldn't have put this in a more in your face, false report, fake news scenario. So you know right away that this is all false. This is fake news. And so I wouldn't doubt that this person may have been already out of the country, maybe visiting family in Israel. And they decided that since they're out of the country, they could go to their home, place money in different parts of their home, and then the investigators would magically show up, find the money, and then now Zelensky has put up his antennas and know, hey, they're after me unless I do what they tell me to do. But, Zelensky at the same time, he knows that if he's going to give away the Donbass, he's going to have some pretty angry military individuals called the Azov Battalion, and They are the kind of the most trained and most aggressive military force in Ukraine. So, Zelensky's in between the Azov and between Trump, and he's trying to navigate the two. And so, I think this is the dynamic that we're looking at this time. And so they even mentioned Petro Poroshenko. He's going to use this whole investigation to try to weaken the government of Zelensky. I mean, it's all just, manufactured stories to create a narrative, and that's all I can see in this. But I really like that they didn't even have the logical thought of, hey, does he just take a taxi to the airport and fly to the country? No, because the airport's not operating. He can't just go to the airport and fly to the country. As far as I know, that's what I've read and heard. So, he'd have to go to Poland, and that's 8 hours. So you have, within those 8 hours, they would have gone to this person's home. They would have put out an arrest warrant. By the time this person gets to the Polish border and tries to go into Poland to catch the flight, that individual is already is not able to escape. So, anyway, that is my report for today, Tuesday, November 11th. If you like this reporting, please like this video and subscribe. I look forward to hearing from you in the comment section below, and I'll put the links of the 2 articles also in the description. So anyway, thank you again for joining me for this video, and feel free to comment in the comment section, and I look forward to seeing you back for another video. Okay, well, take care then. Bye-bye.